Okay, let's dive into this. We're starting today with a really fascinating story about a relationship, one that kind of challenges, well, pretty much every assumption about high-profile marriages.
Yeah, we're talking about Diane von Furstenberg, the fashion icon, and Barry Diller, the media mogul, a real power couple.
Absolutely. And after decades together, Diller publicly shared his sexuality, revealing that he is gay.
Right, and the world sort of braced itself for this huge dramatic fallout. I mean, given who they are.
Of course. But then the story takes this completely unexpected turn when DVS gets interviewed by Variety. This is October 2025.
And her reaction, it was just so pragmatic, almost dismissive of any potential drama.
Totally. When they asked her about Diller coming out, she just said, "What's the difference?"
Just like that. And when interviewer pressed her, tried to ask why it might matter, why someone might struggle with that.
She cut it right off.
Yeah.
Called the question stupid. Said for them, it doesn't change anything. Which is, wow, that's not just a quick reply. That's a whole philosophy, isn't it?
Exactly. So that's our mission today, right? To get past that headline, we need to look at the sources, Diller's memoir, Who Knew, and DVF's interviews, to really understand the architecture of this very unique modern marriage.
Yeah, we want to unpack this idea of radical acceptance that seems to define their, 50-year history, and see how DVF's whole ethos of female empowerment, her brand, plays out in her own life.
So let's start with the revelation itself. Barry Diller, he's 83 now. He detailed everything in an essay for New York Magazine. That was back in May 2025.
Right. The title was The Truth About Us After All These Years.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was so public, so timed, it took all the private whispers and just, bam, made it public fact.
And Diller was pretty open about the tension this caused in their social circles. He mentioned it led to confusion and lots of speculation, people watching them.
I bet.
But what he really stressed, and this is key to their bond, I think, is how he defined his love for DVS specifically.
Yeah, he didn't downplay his relationships with men. He said there had been a good many men. But DVF, she was the only ever been one woman for him in that profound way.
He didn't frame it like a compromise, He called it a unique and complete love.
Which is quite something. He even tried to describe the connection, didn't he? Something about a biological imperative.
Yeah, exactly. He wrote his attraction to her had this biological imperative as strong in its heterosexuality as its opposite had been. Like it was just this powerful force.
Almost elemental. He said it simply happened to both of us without motive or manipulation.
But then DVF comes in and just completely reframes the whole thing. She basically pulls the rug out from under any idea that this is some big dramatic new situation for her.
Right, that's when she drops that bombshell quote.
The one that instantly tells you she plays by different rules. I married 2 gay men, okay.
Okay, pattern recognition right there. And she clarifies her first husband, Prince Egon von Furstenberg, married in '69. He was openly bisexual after they separated.
So this totally shifts how you look at it. She's not responding with, modern tolerance learned recently. She's responding from this deep personal history where labels seem, secondary to the actual relationship.
Her summary says it all. I don't know why, but to me they're not gay, so it doesn't make any difference. It's like the person she knows, her partner, that reality is stronger than any public label.
Exactly. The man, the confidant, supersedes the identity tag.
Okay, but let's push back on that a little for you listening. For most people, a partner's sexuality does make a difference. It affects the marriage structure, intimacy, lots of things. What's DVF truly saying she values here?
That's a fair question. Is it really indifference, or is she prioritizing the emotional connection, the intellectual partnership so highly that the sexual definition just doesn't rank as high for her?
Maybe.
Well, this is where radical acceptance becomes more than just a trendy phrase, I think. The sources suggest that for DVF, the commitment isn't about fulfilling a traditional role, like wife, to a conventionally defined husband.
It's about fully accepting the entire person, complexities and all.
Yes. Accepting the person as they are, without needing them to fit into society's pre-made box for what a husband should be. She's setting the terms of her marriage, not letting society dictate them.
Okay. And to get that level of acceptance, you really have to look at their relationship history. 50 years, and it definitely wasn't straightforward.
No, not at all. Sources say it started, for her at least, with indifference. She just saw Diller as this man about town.
Just wanted to be friends initially.
Right. She was interested in being a good friend. No instant romance there, which makes the evolution even more interesting.
But Diller was persistent, apparently. Very insistent, she said. And that's what moved it from friendship past the indifference, and eventually, as she says, it turned to passion.
And even then, it wasn't smooth sailing. They were on again, off again for years,
Yeah.
right? Through the 70s, 80s.
Yeah, before finally getting back together and marrying in 2001. That kind of history, that up and down, it must build incredible resilience.
I think so. And that resilience probably explains why she bristled at the word supporting when they talked about Diller's memoir.
Oh, right, when asked if she supported him through coming out.
Yeah, she pushed back. What do you mean supporting him? Like, the premise was wrong.
That's powerful. Rejecting the language of support suggests there's no struggle, no burden on her part, no victim narrative.
Precisely. She encouraged the book. She said Diller opened immediately to her for 5 decades and stressed she was the only person he opened to.
Wow. That level of deep emotional intimacy, that sounds like the core of it.
That's the soulmate connection she talks about. She calls him her soulmate. And that depth, regardless of any labels, it perfectly mirrors her professional life, her brand.
Ah, okay, let's connect those dots. Because DVF, she's the woman who gave us the wrap dress back in '73, empowering women, making them feel in charge.
Exactly. And she links her personal approach directly to that mission. She had this amazing metaphor.
The closet one.
Yes. The clothes come out of the closet, the men come out of the closet. The closet is very important.
Love that.
She sees self-definition, whether it's clothes giving you power or owning your personal truth, as liberation. For everyone involved, it's like the central theme of her entire life.
Right.
Empowerment through truth.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second.
Yeah.
Because DVF's ability to just wave this off with what's the difference is, well, it's kind of unique. We should acknowledge the privilege that allows that kind of ease, right?
Absolutely. It's important context. Her position isn't the norm. If you look at the experiences of others who've come out publicly, the stakes can be incredibly high.
Like who?
Well, take someone like JoJo Siwa. Came out young, 17. She talked about the backlash, saying she did lose a lot of fans. But she took this activist stance, like, this is who I am.
A very different approach. Then you have artists dealing with internal struggles.
Right, like Chappell Roan. She spoke about having to unlearn fear because of her Midwest roots and dealing with internalized misogyny. That quote about people hate flamboyantly gay people because it just exudes femininity, that points to real cultural friction.
And the personal cost, like for Matt Bomer?
Yeah, he talked about his life being split, the time before I told my parents and the time after. These stories show the genuine struggle and emotional weight involved for many people.
Which brings us back to DVF. At 78, she's an established global icon. She's always chosen unconventional paths. It wasn't just the wrap dress.
No, she revitalized the meatpacking district in New York by moving her company there when it was totally unfashionable.
Right, so she has this history of defining her own reality.
That's the key, I think. That established authority, that self-determination, her power lets her define the terms of her own happiness and just dismiss the public chatter. She gets to decide what matters in her marriage.
So she kind of bypasses the cultural shockwaves others might face, which, for you listening, maybe that's the takeaway. Gaining the power to define your own reality, that's a profound kind of success.
Definitely.
So, if this radical acceptance and self-determination define their 50-year partnership, how does DVF see her purpose now? She talks about being in the winter of my life.
Yeah, she's focused on passing on what she's learned, and interestingly, she connects the success of their long relationship back to her main focus now, the power of kindness.
Kindness. But not just as a fuzzy feeling, right? She frames it more practically.
Exactly. She calls kindness a currency that compounds.
Okay, I like that. Kindness is an investment.
That's the link. If radical acceptance, truly accepting your partner's whole self, is the action, maybe the investment.
Then the 50-year marriage, built on respecting their truth, labels aside. That's a compounded return.
That seems to be her philosophy. That investing in emotional truth and kindness makes the external stuff, the labels, less relevant over the long haul. She talks about trying to create one small miracle daily by connecting people, being generous.
The idea that radical acceptance, which is fundamentally an act of deep kindness, leads to this kind of enduring, unconventional partnership, it's pretty stunning, really. An interesting way to calculate relationship success.
It really is. It shifts the whole conversation from shock value to, like, a deep philosophical commitment. Their story suggests that if your core investment is in emotional honesty and kindness, the rest sorts itself out.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought to mull over. If this 50-year power marriage, built on self-determination and radical acceptance, is what happens when kindness compounds, What's the currency you're focusing on? What are you investing consistently in your own important relationship?
Yeah, what act of radical acceptance, big or small, could you practice? Something to think about as you define what partnership means to you.
You've been listening to The Deep Dive, where we extract the most compelling knowledge from the sources you need. Thanks for tuning in.